You all set to go?
I am ready to go. Let me put this on my headphones.
All right, while you're putting your headphones on, let me start the meeting then. I want to welcome everyone for the evening of our regular scheduled meeting. This is, I believe, October 4th, 2018. It's about 7:30, call to order. And is your headphones on, Catherine?
I am ready to go.
All right, let's call to order with a roll call.
Okay. Director Slater-Carter,
Present.
Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Wilson,
Here?
Director Harvey,
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
I was always wondering if you called us and we're here and we don't say we're here, what would you do?
I would repeat it.
Oh.
That's the right answer.
That is right.
There's here and here.
I see. I don't want to get into a legal discussion of here and here. This might take us another half hour.
Here, here.
And with that, that is my president's statement. So are there any oral comments on items that are not on the agenda from anyone? Just need to remind everyone that if you wish to speak, we need these little, what color are our slips tonight? Blue? Filled out. All right. Hearing none, we have no public hearing tonight, and our consent agenda is the following. Approval of the minutes for September 2004, 2018. Approval of the financial statements for August 2018. Approve the warrants for October 1, 2018. The SAM flow report for August. The monthly review of the current investment portfolio. The connection permit applications received. The monthly water production report for August 2018, I'm sure that's exciting. The rain report, the solar energy report, and the monthly public agency retirement service report for June 2018. Is there any of those items that anyone wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Somebody.
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we all, I guess we have to do a roll call, so go ahead.
Okay. Director Slater-Carter,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
All approved on that one. All right, first item of business for under new business. The first one is a review and acceptance of the June 30, 2017 GASB 68 actuary valuation. I believe this is a routine issue for us, and Clemens, I'll turn that to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. So about 3 years ago, we actually adopted the PARS plan for all full-time employees. At the time, we agreed that every 2 years, we're really going to take a close look with an actuarial evaluation and considering really the rates that are contributed to the plan, both from the employees as well as from the district. This is not the year where we're going to do this. This is why this is not an action item really for us. The audit now requires a similar look at really where are we, where is this plan right now, how much money is in it, and so this is like a interim assessment between the 2 years where we really take action. And before I talk too much about this, Mary Beth is here. Mary Beth is with Bartell Associates. She's our actuarial, and she can explain really much better than I can what we have in front of us and what we're seeing. So Mary Beth, if you can walk up to the microphone and just give a brief overview of
Got
the
so
stats.
excited because you're mentoring someone. So.
Thank you. And I'm always excited to be here because this is the most beautiful boardroom in the whole state of California, as far as I can tell. And the people are nice too. And I have good news for you. So I'm especially excited to be here. I'm here to talk about the accounting report that we now do every year. The Government Accounting Standards Board has set forth rules for how your financial statements should work. I don't know about most of them. I know about one piece of the rules, which is for pension plans. So we are doing calculations now every year to report your pension plan in accordance with the Governmental Accounting Standards Board rules. They're a little bit different than the rules we use for funding and to determine the contributions for the years. The biggest difference is timing. So what is going on your June 30th of 18 financial statements was actually measured June 30th, 2017. So it's really a year-old numbers. It's reported as if it's current. So we do those calculations. They're similar to the funding calculations, but they mostly determine the unfunded liability, which is the plan. I'm happy to announce, you probably all looked ahead and know that it is slightly overfunded by about $80,000, meaning we have in the plan about $80,000 more in assets than in actuarial liabilities. And that's what will go on. It's actually a balance sheet item on the district's balance sheet as an asset for June 30th of 18. The GASB has decided that this is a real liability. It should be on the balance sheet, and they want it measured on a very current basis, so you should expect to see it fluctuating a lot. And assets will go up and down. It won't always be an asset. You can expect it to be a liability some of the time, but it's good when it's an asset. The reason the plan is that well funded this year is that, remember, we're talking about June 30th, 17. 16, 17 was a very good asset year for most people on June 30th years. Your assets earned about 12.9% for the year, and so that really was enough to push it into an overfunded situation.
And you're saying this is through June 30th, 2017?
17,
So I know this is outside your realm, but this is like October 2018.
yes?
So would you guess that maybe the assets have grown in the last year?
The plans we've looked at through June 30th of 18 have run around 8.5%, so a little better than expected, but not quite as
But higher than the
great.
6.5?
Higher than the 6.5. The PARS fund is a little bit more conservative, but we would still expect it to be a little bit further ahead.
Okay, I just want to bring ourselves up to date
Yeah.
on what we could expect next year.
So, good, but not great,
Better than
which is
nothing.
just fine.
Yes.
I think other than that, there's really not a lot to talk about. The rest of the report is full of numbers like pension expense and deferred outflows and inflows of resources that are really all accounting numbers. The important thing is the funded status of the plan, which is slightly positive and really great news.
Okay. Any questions from the board on this report?
Just, if we were starting this today and we had to determine a discount rate, what would you say we should use? Same thing, 6.5?
Yeah, it's really hard to walk in and say we think that returns are going to be lower in the future than they have been in the past when we're just coming off of 2 good years.
Yeah.
But that really still is our expectation that we're looking lower than, let's say, in the past 20 years,
Right.
just a little. Okay.
Any other, this is not an action item, so any other comments from anyone on the board? Anybody? Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
See
you.
how exciting that was?
This is your pen, right? Nope.
All right, second item is to review and possible action concerning review of the recology audits for the 2019 solid waste rate increase.
Yeah, thanks, Dwight. So we went into a new contract with Recology, a new franchise agreement 2 years ago. And we actually asked for a 6% cap on rate increases, on annual rate increases. And this is what Recology is asking for the year 2019. So we're really asking to send out a Prop 218 notice to all property owners in the district, setting a public hearing for January 17. The rate is going to kick in really on January 1 if this will be approved, but due to the timeline for the Prop 218 process involved, this is always really a problem for us to stagger it so that we can print the notice. But we also always have Mason Associates review the suggested increase and the associated information. And so I have Peter here who can really tell us a little bit about, what he sees in this, and if the numbers really tie out, or if there's anything that we have to worry about. And assuming that, we've seen the report already that is attached. So with that, the staff recommendation really is to authorize the initiation of the required Prop 218 process. Peter, any comments?
Outside of the report, no, there aren't a whole lot of more comments to make. It's one through our standard procedures as well. Just going through all of their worksheets that are provided and try to independently tie out their assumptions and their rates in terms of the indices that they use, as well as for the cost-based method, which was what was employed this time around, tie out to their audited financial statements. There was a discrepancy, but it did not change the fact that it was still going to increase 6%. It was at, I believe, 12.93%, and then when the error was found, it brought it down to 12.46%. So a $50,000 discrepancy did not make a world of difference.
So are you saying in so many words that if we didn't have the cap, they'd be asking for 12%? And
Correct.
could you, in summary fashion, tell us where that increase is coming from?
Mostly labor.
Yeah, but the employees aren't getting a 12% increase, right?
No, there and other labor was going to be one.
But Peter, that's
It's-
an accumulation
what
of
is-
just 1 year, but the last 2 years, the last 1 year was on the
Correct.
Pacific.
Right. One of the biggest changes that we're right now seeing has to do with the story that we all hear in the news about China not taking any longer the recycling material, also not taking anything besides recycling, really the trash. So Recology is essentially missing the income. There is no income from recycling currently. And there is also, Recology always has avoided shipping garbage to China, but it does impact our rate as well. So in the conversation that I had with Chris Porter about this was really the high point, the reason for the rate increase.
Yeah, my strong recommendation is that you're able to articulate what the increase is being driven by.
Okay.
Have it spelled out, because particularly if it's 12 versus 6, and particularly if a chunk of this has to do with the recycling cost, because right now, 12% just saying is labor, I don't think it's going to get you very far. Because I don't think anyone's getting 12% increases in their annual paychecks. So I would recommend strongly that we get a breakdown on that, particularly by the time we get the public hearing.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Okay, but also, and I may be wrong, on that last go around on the contract, it was on the base of what was in the contract as a increase, and then every third year it got calculated, or every other year it got calculated?
Every third year.
Every
Yes.
third year, but there was also a catch-up at the very end, right?
Correct, and that is this year being the cost-based model.
So that-
Every 2 years is the index-based, solely index-based, and the third year is the catch-up based on actual expenses.
But, and I'm a little foggy on this right now, but at the very end of the contract, the fact that they were at 12% and we capped it at 6% for this year, that 6% still carries forth to the end, doesn't it? That extra 6%?
Yes, it does. The cap is there,
Yep.
but the catch-up will happen when we have a year that's less than 6%.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I think having that explanation in January is important, because we saw what happened the last time we did these catch-ups. So, any other comments on this one? All right, the third one. Oh, this little minor project, you have update for the progress of the Cabrillo Highway Sewer Improvement Phase 1A projects. When is it on?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to hand this to Pippin very soon, but Before I do, I'm just going to say how happy I am that we finally can do this project. This project we've been waiting over 10 years to get this project implemented, and we finally have the crew out working, and the project is on track and almost completed. Pippin.
Thank you, Clemens. It might have been a little fancier to do a PowerPoint presentation, but I apologize, I didn't have the time today to put something together. So I do have a binder here of photographs that I'll hand around, people can look at. But as Clemens pointed out, I'll just start with sort of an introductory photograph people can kind of see. It looks just like a round pipe. It's not too interesting at first, but I'm starting with this original picture. This is a video that was done recently to give you an idea. There's a black line here at the top of this pipe, and it doesn't look like much here, but what this is a clay pipe with large fractures, and if these fractures connect, kind of like a crack in your windshield, and those pieces fall in, the pipe becomes blocked. Well, this pipe is the one under the highway. It's right here crossing across, it brings all the sewage from Montara down here into the district. And we recognize that that can be a pretty big problem. We have one pipe, and it's pretty important. It carries all the sewage. And so we're faced with this challenge. Here's our driveway looking across the highway. A lot of cars pass through this area at about a little faster than the mark speed, sometimes at 50 or 60 miles an hour. And our pipe is close to 30 feet deep as it comes across the highway. So cutting a trench across this highway, it would be extremely challenging. It's a very old pipe. It was installed when this was originally a treatment plant years and years ago. So we started in, as Clemens said, those original crack discoveries were a number of years ago. So in 2012, we hired a drill rig to come out and right out here on top of the property and bore holes down to a depth exceeding what the sewer was to get a profile of what the geology looked like. And we did several drillings here and on the plant road. Just another picture of the drill rig set up. And that gave us a profile of what the soil looked like. And the intent then was to dig an access pit over here on the west side and drill underneath the highway and put in a steel casing so the sewer could be slid under the highway and not disrupt the traffic or anything like that. So starting excavation looks a little messy. We're tearing up the access road here and replacing the initial sewer. It's about 17 or 18 feet deep down on the access road where the sewer comes into the pump station. Here's what the old system, it's about 50 years old, looks like when we're getting it uncovered. And with a really large excavator, they actually plucked this 30,000 pound piece of concrete out of the ground and took it out and began putting in new concrete with kind of a nice, I like this picture, swinging the concrete over into the hole with a big dump bucket and looking down in the hole. So we start connecting the old sewer and the new sewer with these very large pipes. They're about 18 to 24 inches in diameter. Then we had to build an access pit for the drilling machine, which is set up here in the top of the district property. This is setting the pit in. It's 33 feet deep and about 60 feet, or 50 feet long and about 20 feet wide. We brought our surveyor down when the contractor was done, and it was nice. This gentleman running this tractor, he's just a quiet old folks. He's the owner of the company, about a $30 million a year company. He doesn't like being in the office. This is where he likes to be. This is his office right here. So we were really happy to have him. Our surveyor found that the dimension of this pit in alignment and depth was accurate in every way to within 3/4 of an inch, which was pretty amazing. I don't think my house is that square.
So if the owner didn't like the surveyor, what would be the feature of that surveyor?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Here's a shot of what the truck looked like set up there on the cliff. This is a boom truck that was used to lower large pieces of drilling casing down into the pit. So we have individual 20-foot sections of steel casing preloaded with a drill bit to pull the soil out. And at the front of the drill string, here's the individual drill bits. You can see what they look like. It's like a big spiral, like kind of like a old-fashioned brace and bit, but they're like 3 feet in diameter. At the head of that, there's a pretty sophisticated steering machine that runs with hydraulics, and they can twist it, and then they have hydraulic doors that they can open on either side to kind of actually steer this thing and get this accurate within about a half an inch on a 200-foot run running across. So it's pretty amazing to see how they can do that. Here's a shot of them installing and welding the casing down into the bottom of the pit. This was done by 3 crew members, this whole drilling operation. They came from Bakersfield. They worked 10 hours a day for 4 days a week and went home. And each casing run, and I say each because we ended up doing 2, took about 1 week. I'll explain that in a second. Here's a shot. You can see we come into the pit on this end, and then this white paint out. This is where our next sewer manhole is going to be. And the interesting thing about the sewer there is we had some challenges because we were kind of working with the crew time. When I say multiple casings, as we realized we were digging this large access pit for the sewer, we thought, gosh, this is expensive. And how's our water crossing? And it turns out the water crossing across the road was pretty old as well. So we decided that we would backfill part way and then drill another casing across, taking advantage of the excavation we already had, and put a new water crossing across the highway as well. So we had to work with the contractor to develop manhole concrete design that could handle the weight of everything we're stacking on it really quickly, because I mentioned the old structure we took out, to kind of talk technical, is like 15,000 pounds. Well, the new manhole we put in is a little bigger. It weighs about 30,000 pounds. And so we actually had to make high-strength concrete that we could solidify quickly so we could start stacking that weight on it, because normally you have to wait 28 days. And we got that, brought it up 10 feet, and then we put a second crossing. Here's the casing looks like sticking through the wall there. And it's pretty far down. A little hard to get a perspective. Each one of those green panels is 8 feet tall. So it's a lot of stories, a lot of stories down. So here's just what the manhole looks like as they're starting to pour the concrete, and gives you an idea of the scale. It's a little worker down inside it. Really tall ladder. I'm not sure where you buy those, but it's not my local hardware store. So then we backfilled up 10 feet, and this is looks just like the other casing, except we're now 10 feet higher in elevation, and we're putting a new casing across, a second casing across to install the water pipe. And so, as a quick run through a bunch of pictures, we're excited so far to report the pace of the work once we got started has been really good. I think our biggest problem on the job was that the sign company issued signs that weren't painted the right color, so they weren't visible by the public, so we had to get new signs ordered. that was, so as the project goes, technically it's been on course for a fast completion. We expect to add the addition of tying into the new water crossing to the existing water main within the next, it was supposed to be scheduled next week, but the delay in some of the pipe materials could put it out about 2 weeks, additional 2 weeks, so maybe within a month.
It's actually scheduled for next week, Friday.
The shutdown. They're having some trouble with, I hope that works, but we're having some trouble with materials coming in time, so I think we were able to accelerate some of the materials. SRT, the water engineer, has been working with us on the water spec, and I just got an email from him today approving an or equal material for some of the fittings to tie in, which hopefully we can meet that deadline if we can get those materials, because we were looking at 3 to 4 weeks on some of the valves. and fittings. But anyway, we're happy that the project has gone successfully and all the workers have been safe, and we're looking for successful completion, like I said, within a couple weeks, and continuing in the future with the next capital improvements, moving forward up the highway incrementally, and as a long-term capital goal, complete a restoration of the entire pipe segments all the way, basically to First Street, all the way to the entire length of the district over time.
What's your final cost going to be? Because you had about a third of this was under contingencies.
Yeah, so we had budgeted about $1.8 million. Right now, we're looking at about 1.3, in between 1.3 and 1.4 as for this first phase. So we're doing well. I would say we're conservative. We're about $400,000 under the estimate, which is good. Which is going to go a long ways to contributing to the repairs in the next section.
And so the sewer line is not being used yet,
It is not being used yet. It would be available under emergency situation, but it is the sooner that we can expedite what we call Phase 1B to get up to 14th Street, the lower the risk for the district, because then we'll actually be able to tie it in. And at that point, we can rehabilitate the existing crossing, which has some of these cracks, with a cured-in-place process, like a nice epoxy liner that goes on the inside and seals it all up. And that would maintain the existing crossing we have as a backup, which would be really nice, so we could use one or the other for cleaning purposes or whatever.
How many separate sections are involved, so going from one to the other?
For the whole scope, long range.
Yeah.
Well, we had originally had broken it down into three sections, but with the cost and the permitting difficulties with Caltrans, we've kind of broke this part into A and B.
Okay.
But Phase 1 is to get to 14th Street. Phase 2 is to kind of secure everything to 10th. Phase 3 is slightly more complicated because right on the business, I'll call it the business district, downtown, Montara, where you're about 5 businesses there. We really it would be most effective to build a parallel sewer and take those businesses off the main sewer. Because there's a little bit of a challenge where the main sewer is handling the heavy flow, and that can adversely affect those local businesses. So there's sort of a 3A and B. And then this next week on Tuesday, we're going to try to televise the force mains from the Canoff pump station. They haven't ever been televised before. All the gravity pipes have, but we're going to televise inside the force main, and then we'll know how and if we need to do any restoration on the last, called Phase 4, the last section all the way down to the pump station.
And what's the overall time scale that we're talking about for the whole project?
Well, budget-wise, we kind of have planned out one every other year to be able to keep the neighborhood projects moving, just because they are more expensive. So you could then build up some reserves in the off year, and so after, 5 or 6 years, you'd complete the whole trunk system. It did get off to a delayed start with the Caltrans not initially approving the permit, but now the permit's approved. So with that momentum, we're going to file before the end of the year an extension to say, well, okay, we did this part, now we're going to finish it and see what they say.
Okay.
But the delay really allowed us to save up the money, so we have actually the money available to do the work.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Pippin.
All right, and our last new business is update on Montara Water and Sanitary District's 60-year anniversary of Clemens.
Yeah, thank you. This is really another announcement of the 60-year anniversary, and we're excited to plan currently a public event, a celebration on Sunday, November 4, and that's going to be here at the Lighthouse, so just north of us. It's a wonderful property, and so the first invitations went out today, actually by email, but we are also going to send invitation to everybody in the district, and that's going to be in the form of a newsletter that is really focused on has a more historic focus, and that's going to go out probably in a week and a half or so, should be in your mailbox.
So, November 4th, again the time?
It's from 12 to 3, so hope to see you all at noon at the Lighthouse.
Very good. And I don't want to be obnoxious about it, but I don't think you can campaign on that day, so. Right, Jim?
Are you being obnoxious?
Yes. There's no doubt about the obnoxious part of that presentation.
I think it's being obnoxious.
All right, under reports, we have the SAM presentation. Scott and Catherine?
Scott, do you want to handle that?
I'd love to. Can you come back to me? Let me pop
Yeah,
the
let me, while he's doing that, Catherine, everything on the Mid-Coast Council?
No,
Okay. How about the CSDA report?
no.
Yeah, just remind me of my grandchild. I have him practice the yes word occasionally. All right. Can I-
pulling up the agenda.
All right, let me go one more. The attorney's report? No? Okay.
We've moved so quickly through things.
Not here.
We're not used to this kind of.
I know, this is pressing. Scott, ready?
Just pulling up the whole agenda for some reason.
Director's report. Any directors want to talk while we're biding time? Anybody? General manager's report.
Yes, I have an item.
Good. Take your time.
Okay. So I think we all have to congratulate Tracy for taking and passing the notary public workshop and exam. That's going to help us quite a bit with any business in the future. We have an in-house notary. So, yeah, congratulations. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Well, congratulations. I have some really interesting cases for you too. Just for public consumption or just for the office?
It-
Yeah.
I mean, the office paid for it, but it is her title, her business, so we can take advantage of that for free. But she can use that anywhere she wants, of course.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Scott?
So the closed session agenda took a lot of time, but we had nothing to report from that. We discussed some concerns raised by the city's Director of Public Works about the audit and financial statements. I don't recall, Catherine, do you recall anything substantive that came out of that discussion?
Out of which one, Scott? I'm sorry.
The discussion about the letter from Hackman Bay's Director of Public Works.
No, there wasn't that much to say.
And that, I believe, based on the agenda, is everything that we covered. I'm trying to remember, we did give some direction to staff on responding, on how to respond to that, but it was actually quite cordial across the board. I think we actually had a rather unremarkable meeting, other than we just got through it fine.
Wow.
Can I ask you a question, Scott? What's the status of the wet weather project? How's that moving along?
Everything's on track as far as I know.
On track for what time scale is that going to be, do you think?
Trying to remember the completion. I think the completion would be sometime in early spring. I don't remember the actual dates, but everything's moving ahead. We have We have a deadline from the regional board. If we're going to hit the deadline, no problem.
Wow. Well, it's 8:10, that's almost a record time.
Almost.
We are gonna go into closed session, so I think for the camera, we're done. And we'll give everyone about a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll